今日講到經文係記載喺腓立比書2章1至11節。所以在基督裏若有什麼勸勉，愛心有什麼安慰，聖靈有什麼交通，心中有什麼慈悲憐憫，你們就要意念相同，愛心相同，有一樣的心思，有一樣的意念，使我的喜樂可以滿足。凡事不可結黨，不可貪圖虛浮的榮耀，只要全心謙卑，各人看別人比自己強，各人不要單顧自己的事，也要顧別人的事。你們當以基督耶穌的心為心，他本有神的形象，不以自己與神同等為強奪的，反倒虛己，取了奴僕的形象，成為人的樣式。既有人的樣子，就自己卑微，全心順服，以至於死，且死在十字架上。所以神將他升為至高，又賜給他那超乎萬名之上的名，叫一切在天上的、地上的和地底下的，因耶穌的名無不屈膝，無不口稱耶穌基督為主，使榮耀歸於父神。今日我哋有英文堂嘅譚牧師為我哋證道 Pastor Tam， 有潘傳道同我哋做翻譯，有請 Pastor Tam 潘傳道。
Good morning, everyone.
大家早晨。
Good morning. It's good to be with you.
好開心能夠同大家一齊。
Western society is all about moving up,
我哋呢個西方社會咧，好多時都講要上升，
getting more, being better than others, showing it to others.
要俾第二啲人睇到咧，我哋比佢哋更好，有更多嘢。
Upwardly mobile.
要向上升，步步高升。
It's often the same in the East.
我哋喺東方 ，same in the East， 東方講。
I was in Beijing several years ago.
曾經咧，牧師去過北京。
Remember going to this ritzy mall downtown.
佢去到咧嗰度嘅市中心咧，有一個好高級嘅商場。
Huge mall, lots of stores, very few customers.
一間好大嘅商場，裏面有好多嘅店鋪，但係咧好少人喺裏邊。
The prices, the goods were so expensive, they didn't even have price tags.
裏面賣嘅貴到咧唔使擺價錢牌嘅。
I was too ashamed to walk in the door of the store.
我直頭咧覺得有少少慚愧，唔敢行入去呢啲鋪頭裏邊。
And I think they knew it too, the store owners.
似乎咧店鋪裏面嘅店員咧都睇得出呢件事。
I just tried to take a picture of the display, and they wouldn't let me even do that.
我只係想將嗰啲嘅貨品咧影幅相，但係佢哋都唔俾我咁做。
Society is all about moving up.
呢個世界咧好想向上升，
But Christianity is about moving down.
但係基督教咧係關於降下嘅。
In the words of this world, down sounds bad.
喺我哋呢個世界嘅字典裏面咧，向下即係落咧係一個唔好嘅字。
Downhearted, downsized, downfall, down and out, downscaling.
我哋有心情低落啦，即係生意向下啦、下滑啦，好多咧唔好嘅嘢咧都係向下走嘅。
It's for losers, for cowards, for the bear market, for the weak, for the poor.
呢啲字咧係用喺一啲冇用嘅人啊，一啲失敗者啊，一啲咧冇膽嘅人啊，或者咧係喺生意裏面咧，我哋叫佢做雄士。
Up is a word that is worshipped.
但係向上咧就係我哋好崇拜嘅一個字。
Upscale, up and coming, upwardly mobile, upper class.
譬如咧有上等嘅人啦，有我哋向上步步高升啦，我哋咧有好多向上都係好嘅字。
Even some churches.
甚至有啲教會啦。
You may have heard of this church in the States where the pastor was robbed on TV once, and they robbed him his jewelry and found he had $1 million worth of jewelry on him.
咁你可能聽過一個嘅新聞咧，就係美國咧有一個牧師咧被搶劫啦，咁搶咗佢身上面嘅珠寶咧有成10萬蚊咁嘅價值。
Our 2022 theme is edification means building up.
我哋嘅教會今年嘅主題咧係彼此建立。
But our text, which is one of our yearly texts from Philippians chapter 2, talks about going down, descending into greatness.
但係咧，我哋嘅主題嘅一段經文咧，係喺腓立比書2章1至11節咧，係講緊往下即係降卑呢件事。
Because that's the way of Jesus.
因為呢個咧係耶穌基督嘅方法。
As it says in our text in verse 5, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus.
喺呢段經文第5節咧話，我哋咧要以基督耶穌嘅心為心。
In other words, the more you lose, the more you gain.
所以咧，越多我哋肯放下我哋嘅嘢咧，我哋就能夠得着更多。
Someone once said, lose your selfish ambition, I'll honor you for loving others. Lose your addiction to things, I'll provide for you. Lose your obsession to be in control, I'll give you power to follow me.
咁有人就講過，放低自己嘅野心就會令你咧可以喺愛裏面咧得到別人嘅尊重。你願意放低你要擁有嘅執念，就會讓你神就會供應你嘅需要。你肯放下自己嘅控制欲嚟到跟從主，佢會俾你力量。
The biblical, some more. Lose your appetite for thrills, I'll surprise you with pleasures you can't find yourself. Lose your temporary life, I'll give you eternal life.
咁亦都講到咧，如果可以放低自己追求嘅刺激咧，就可以有無法想像嘅驚喜，亦都可以放下短暫嘅人生，我哋會得到永恆嘅生命。
The biblical path to greatness is down. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. We are to follow Jesus.
我哋原來咧要往上，要得到尊榮咧，我哋要先降卑願意我哋咧係要有嗰個同主耶穌一樣嘅心咁樣嘅關係。
How did Jesus go down? How was he humbled? In his power, in his position, in his priorities.
耶穌係點樣去到降卑嘅咧？原來咧佢喺佢嘅能力上、佢嘅位置上同埋佢嘅優先次序上邊都有降低。
In his power, who being very nature God, Jesus did not consider equality with God something to be something to be used to his own advantage.
喺佢嘅能力上係點樣呢？他本有神嘅形象，不以自己與神同等為強奪的。
The Greek term for nature, translated in English nature, means in his very essence, Jesus is God.
嗰裏面嗰個就係神嘅形象，形象呢個字咧喺原文裏面咧係講到佢本質佢嘅本質就係神。
Which is why he is part of the Trinity.
所以佢係三位一體真神嘅其中一位。
Therefore, he has total power. Think of all the power in this universe, all the mountains, the rivers, the lakes, everything. That's his.
所以咧，佢有完全嘅能力。你想象咧，整個世界裏面所有山河、所有嘅一切咧，都係佢擁有嘅。
Yet he did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. In other words, he didn't need to flaunt it, he didn't need to exert it, he gave it up.
但係咧，佢卻係話佢冇將同神同等呢件事咧，去到咧攞出嚟去曬命去到覺得呢樣嘢好叻佢要話俾人聽佢有呢個同等嘅身份。
He allowed himself to be weak. He had submissive strength.
佢願意順服，佢願意咧容許呢一個嘅權力咧係放低。
Christ gave up power.
耶穌將佢嘅權力放低咗。
I think most of us know what that means.
我相信大家都明白呢個意思。
You've tasted power, you've seen power being exerted.
因為你都感受過有能力、有權力嗰個情況係點樣樣，你見過呢件事。
In history, among kings, kingdoms, armies, monopolies.
喺呢個世界嘅歷史裏面咧，你見到好多嘅國家、好多嘅國王等等，佢哋都好有權力。
Written in history books, psychology textbooks, religious creeds, graffiti, physics manuals, marriage certificates, the newspapers talk about power.
有好多嘢咧都會提及 power 能力呢一樣嘢，包括咧一啲嘅理科嘅書報紙好多嘅即係經文等等都有講到權力呢樣嘢。
Might makes right. To the victors go the spoil. The winners get to write history.
咁我哋中文都講咧，勝者為王，敗者為寇。
Adler called power the greatest human obsession. Kissinger called it an aphrodisiac.
咁亦都有啲嘅哲學家咧，佢哋會話有能力咧就係呢個世界嘅人咧最迷戀嘅事情，同埋咧有能力咧係好似一個催情劑咁樣樣。
But the Bible is completely countercultural.
但係聖經所教導嘅咧就同我哋嘅文化完全相反。
And you see it in the Christmas story.
你會喺咧聖誕嘅故事裏面可以睇到。
The tale of two kings.
我哋係有一個故事係雙城記Tale of Two Kings 啊。
Okay. The Matthew 2 talks about after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of the first king, King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem.
喺聖經裏面記載到咧，當耶穌出世嘅時候咧，係希律王嘅時候，而當時咧係有一啲遠方嘅博士嚟到。
And asked, "Where is the one who has been born the second king, king of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and came to worship him."
希律王咧係當時第一個王，但係咧呢一班嘅博士咧，佢哋問另外一個王究竟喺邊度出生呢？
When King Herod heard this news, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him.
當希律王聽見呢件事嘅時候，佢心裏好不安，而且耶路撒冷合城都一齊不安。
He was called Herod the Great.
希律王咧，你可以叫佢做希律大帝。
King of Judea, addicted to power, raised up with an insane, unbelievable desire for power.
呢個皇帝咧，佢係有非常之想要有權力嘅一個情況，佢係甚至去到一個瘋狂嘅地步。
Politically well-connected family, he was raised up talking about power at the dinner table.
佢嘅家庭咧，亦都係有呢個政治嘅背景，所以咧相信佢由細到大咧，喺食飯台咧都係傾緊關於權力嘅問題。
His father, who was king, was poisoned when Herod was at a young age by political opponents.
當希律王仲係好細嘅時候，佢爸爸咧係因為一啲政治嘅敵人啦去到毒死咗佢嘅。
Something must have flipped in Herod's mind because from then on, what he did was first he invited all the killers of his father to a nice dinner and he massacred them all when they got there.
可能當時咧係一個對佢好大嘅影響，因為後來咧佢將所有咧去安排去殺佢爸爸嘅人咧邀請佢哋一齊食飯，但係後來咧就安排一個嘅屠殺去將佢哋殺死晒。
He hated all rivals.
佢對於所有敵對佢嘅人咧都係好憎恨。
Even if it's a little baby in Bethlehem.
就算喺伯利恆嘅一個小 BB。
He used deception, his favorite tool, and when that didn't work, he ordered the massacre of all the children, young boys 2 and under in that area. Picture the parents as their children. You think Uvalde was bad. Picture that.
佢嘗試咧去用欺詐啦，去到希望揾到呢個 BB， 揾唔到嘅時候咧，佢就要大屠殺，將所有喺伯利恆2歲以下嘅小朋友咧都去殺咗。可以想像下呢個圖畫就係當時嘅一啲嘅兵丁去喺啲嘅父母手中要殺佢哋2歲以下嘅 BB 嗰種嘅情況究竟係點樣？
He was plagued by insecurity and fear. He had a network of spies using violence, arrests, killing whoever threatened him, including 2 of his wives and 3 of his sons, one of them while he was dying.
佢咧係充滿，因為佢充滿其實咧就係一個懼怕啦，同埋咧不安感，所以咧佢有好多嘅善人啦，去到要知道好多嘅嘢，去到睇下幾時有機會有人傷害自己啦，保護自己啦，甚至咧佢結果咧係殺咗2個太太、3個兒女，有一個咧係佢仲臨死嘅時候咧，佢都要咁做。
Forced thousands of slaves to build his fortresses to protect himself from revolutions.
佢逼好多嘅千萬嘅一啲嘅僕人、一啲嘅奴隸去幫佢咧起一啲嘅城堡，等佢有需要嘅時候可以逃亡。
Herod had the world's view of power. Jesus had God's view.
希律王佢有呢個世界所講嘅權力，但係咧耶穌有嘅係神俾佢嘅權力。
Herod said, "Get it, hoard it, use it." Jesus used powers for others.
希律王咧，佢係需要想攞晒、壟斷晒同埋用呢個世界嘅能力，但係咧耶穌咧係將能力咧係俾人哋用。
Herod said, "Live for this life." Jesus said, "Live for eternity."
希律王話為今生而活，耶穌話為永恆而活。
Herod was a tyrant, Jesus a servant.
希律王咧係一個暴君，耶穌咧係一個僕人。
Herod said, "Manipulate, slander, deceive, coerce." Jesus healed, touched, taught, loved.
希律王咧用好多嘅方法，好似去操控啊、強迫啊咁樣樣。耶穌咧就會去醫治、去愛、去觸摸、去教導。
The only place where they agreed was you solve problems with bloodshed.
但係佢哋有一樣都係有共通點，就係佢哋都相信咧可以用血去到解決問題。
Of course, the difference is whose bloodshed.
但係佢流邊個嘅血咧，就係嗰個唔同嘅地方。
But the difference is this: you have to see their end to judge their lives.
其實如果你要去評估佢哋嘅生命咧，你要睇下到佢生命最後嘅時候究竟係點樣樣。
Herod was morally bankrupt. By the final year of his life, he suffered in agony with a disease so that his screams could be heard throughout the night in his temple, in his fortress.
希律王去到人生最終嘅時候咧，佢係有好多嘅病痛，佢嘅叫聲慘叫嘅痛楚咧，係成個嘅皇宮都聽到嘅。
No one loved it, and he knew it.
冇人去愛佢，而佢自己都知道呢件事。
So when he was dying, he decided that he wanted to make sure people cried when he died.
所以當佢死嘅時候咧，佢好想去到知道咧，其他人會喺佢死嘅時候會喊。
So he arranged for all his leaders to come join him at his fortress, and he told his soldiers to lock the doors, and then on the moment of his death to massacre all his own leaders.
咁佢為咗多啲人喊咧，佢就將所有佢帶領嗰啲嘅領袖咧，等晒喺佢個皇宮裏面咧，就話要鎖住個皇宮。佢就安排咗咧嗰啲士兵咧，當佢死嗰一刻咧，就大屠殺晒其他嘅領袖。
Fortunately for them, the soldiers didn't fulfill the wish.
不過咧，嗰啲嘅士兵咧就冇根據佢嗰個 order 做嘢。
Jesus was completely opposite. He lived a life of poverty, a lowly position, and then he went further by dying on the cross.
耶穌好相反嘅，佢過嘅一個生命咧就係一個窮困難嘅生命、困苦嘅生命，甚至到最後咧上到十字架。
He willingly gave up power, but look at the result.
佢自願嘅將權力放低，但係我哋可以睇到嗰個後果。
Christianity is now considered the largest religion in the world, with over 2.4 billion followers.
到今天咧，基督教咧係世界裏面咧係最大嘅宗教，據報有24億嘅基督徒喺呢個世上。
Over a third of the world's population. I'm not saying they're all Christians, but they do say they follow Jesus.
呢個真係等於咧大概世界上面咧1/3多少少嘅人，咁唔係未必個個都真係我哋嘅基督徒，但係佢哋咧都話自己係跟隨耶穌嘅人。
There's a very famous writing written by Anonymous. He wrote a lot of things, but let's read what he says.
佢話有一個好出名嘅作家叫做人疊名啊，冇講名嘅作家作咗好多嘢嘅，不過呢個其中一個。
Talking about Jesus, he was born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He grew up in another obscure village where he worked in a carpenter's shop until he was 30.
咁佢話咧有一個好孤單嘅人嚇，佢出世嘅時候係一個好平凡嘅城市，係城鄉啊，咁咧就係一個農婦嘅兒子，喺一個好平凡嘅城市咧，佢去長大，之前曾經做過木匠。
He never wrote a book, didn't marry or raise a family. He never owned a house. He never held an office. He never went to college. He never visited a big city. He never traveled more than 200 miles from the place where he was born.
佢冇作過任何書，冇結婚，冇細路仔，冇自己嘅屋企，冇自己嘅辦公室，冇高等教育，冇去過大城市，從來冇離開過200里以外從出生嘅地方。
He did none of these things, usually associated with greatness. He had no credentials but himself. At the age of 33, his friends ran away. One of them denied him.
佢冇做過任何啲使人覺得係偉大嘅事情，亦都冇任何專業嘅認證。佢做嘅咧就係只有自己喺33歲嘅時候，甚至朋友離開佢，其中一個就唔認佢。
He was turned over to his enemies and went through the mockery of a trial. He was nailed to a cross between two thieves. While dying, his executioners gambled for his clothing, the only property he had on earth.
咁咧，當佢後來咧，仲要俾人交咗喺敵人嘅手上面去戲弄，去到審判，有2個強盜中間咧嚟到釘喺十字架死嘅時候咧，連佢唯一身上擁有嘅物件就係佢件衫咧，都俾人用嚟賭博去攞咗。
When he was dead, he was laid in a burial grave through the pity of a friend. 20 centuries have come and gone, and look at the trail he has left. Today, Jesus is a central figure of the human race and the leader of mankind's progress.
佢死咗之後，因為朋友嘅憐憫，能夠葬喺人哋嘅墳墓裏邊。但係2000年之後，我哋可以睇下佢留低嘅足跡。今日耶穌係人類心目中嘅一個重要人物，亦都係人類進步嘅中心。
All the armies that have ever marched, all the navies that have ever sailed, all the parliaments that have ever sat, all the kings that ever reigned put together have not affected the life of mankind on earth as powerfully as that one solitary life.
就算你計晒所有曾經出動嘅軍隊、出航嘅海軍、所有嘅政府會議、所有嘅統治過嘅君王集埋一齊咧，對人類歷史嘅影響力咧，都不及呢一個孤單嘅人生。
That's true greatness.
呢個就係真正嘅偉大。
Jesus was humble in his use of power. What about you?
耶穌佢願意謙卑，冇再使用自己嘅強權，你又如何呢？
Herod may be an extreme example.
當然希律王比較誇張一啲嘅一個例子。
But how many of you can say that when you look into the mirror, you don't see a little Herod looking back at you?
但係我哋能唔能夠對住塊鏡講，我哋冇任何似希律嘅地方呢？
I thought You know, after I left, when I was an engineer, I had all the perks of being an engineer.
當牧師係做工程師嘅時候咧，佢有好多嘅好處嘅着數嘅。
The corporate car, the cell phone, it was the size of a brick, but still I got to use it.
當時咧，佢係有得用公司嘅車啊，公司嘅手提電話。不過嗰個手提電話成嚿磚咁大，不過起碼都係唔使佢嘅錢。
But I thought when I went into ministry, I'd given all up that desire for power, that lust for power.
當我離開呢個工作進入去侍奉嘅時候咧，我以為自己可以放低晒所有呢啲對權力嘅競爭。
But guess what? If one Sunday the number of people goes down in service, I felt bad. If it went up, I felt, give myself a pat on the back.
但係原來咧，當我睇見咧會眾嘅人數嘅升降咧係會影響我少人嘅時候咧，好似好唔高興；多人嘅時候覺得自己做得唔錯。
Or I only talk to the powerful people, the rich people, the famous people in church.
又或者咧，我去喺教會裏面同人傾偈嘅時候，好多時可能會揀咗一啲有錢嘅、有權力嘅、好叻嘅。
What about you? Have you given up power?
你有冇真正嘅放低你嘅權力呢？
Are you willing also to be humble like Jesus in his position?
另外一方面，有冇願意好似耶穌咁放低自己嘅位置呢？
Our text says in verse 7, rather he made himself nothing, zero, zilch, nada.
喺呢段經文咧，佢話反倒虛己，虛己嘅意思咧係將自己變成冇嘢。
By taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness.
佢取咗奴僕嘅形象，成為人嘅樣式。
That's what it meant to be nothing. Nothing meaning taking the nature of being human.
佢呢度嘅意思話變成冇嘢，其實咧就係變成人嘅意思。
Jesus was fully God, fully man.
耶穌基督喺地上嘅時候係完全嘅神，又係完全嘅人。
You know, the word nothing is a very troubling word these days. You can't use it.
冇嘢呢個字咧，其實喺而家嘅社會咧，我哋唔中意用嘅。
You can't use it in a self-esteem seminar. You can't use it at the bank. You can't use it in boardrooms. You can't use it at awards banquets.
如果你去一啲頒獎典禮裏面得到冇嘢，又或者咧你係喺一個嘅公司你嘅銀行戶口等等，如果係冇嘢咧，全部都係唔好嘅。
Isn't being human something?
我哋做人都算係一啲嘢啩。
Sure, if you want to compare yourself to an animal.
如果你同動物比較咧，你都幾犀利嘅。
But comparing to God is basically nothing.
但係如果我哋要同神比較咧，我哋就真係好似冇嘢一樣。
In science, we use the term significant digits, where we say the rest of those digits are nothing. We don't consider them.
喺自然科學裏面咧，有陣時佢哋嘅研究咧，有啲數字咧，佢哋係唔使計嘅，因為太少啦。
In business, we have the term immaterial, where in your audits, you don't consider certain amounts below a certain number because it's basically worth nothing.
咁如果你係去做會計嘅時候咧，有啲數咧你亦都唔計嘅，可能好似啲零頭咁太少啦，唔計佢都得。
I know someone who works auditing in one of the big banks. She was saying that if a number is below, I think it was 5 million, she doesn't think of it.
咁佢識得一個朋友咧，就係喺啲大銀行嗰度做嘢咁。佢話咧應該如果係啲數字咧係少過50萬，應該係唔計。
5 million, nothing.
500萬都唔計喎。
How far was Jesus' descent? It depends on what you think about God.
究竟耶穌降世為人，究竟降落咗低落咗幾多咧？我哋要知道神幾高同埋人幾低。
God is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. He's all-knowing, everywhere. He's all-powerful.
神有幾高咧？佢係無所不知、無所不在、無所不能咁犀利。
What did Jesus become?
耶穌變咗點樣咧？
Now he had to use doors. Now he got tired. He got sore. He had to obey his parents. He traded worship for curses, praise for spit, riches for poverty, no money, houses, spouse or children.
耶穌降卑到咧，佢由一個神啦變成咧喺地上嘅時候咧，要用開門先過到一道門啊！佢要咧人去餵佢食嘢啊！佢咧即係有好多嘢都放低咗。
He went from commanding angels to sleeping in the straw.
佢之前咧係可以叫天使做任何嘢嘅，但係而家要瞓喺一個馬槽裏面。
Holding stars to clutching Mary's fingers.
佢之前咧係掌管所有星宿嘅，但係而家咧係捉住瑪利亞佢媽媽嘅手指。
The palm that held the universe took a nail through it.
嗰個可以掌管世界宇宙嘅手掌咧，俾支釘釘住咗佢嘅十字架。
And he became the very nature of a servant.
佢嘅本質突然間變成咗咧一個嘅僕人。
For even the Son of Man didn't come to serve, but to serve.
因為人子來並不是要受人嘅服侍，乃係要服侍人。
Not only did he give up power, but he gives up his position as God himself.
佢唔單止放棄咗佢嘅權能，亦都係放棄咗佢嘅地位。
You know the pecking order, don't you? I don't know what it is in Chinese, but in English it's called the pecking order.
英文有個叫 pecking order 嘅嘢咧，就我哋譯為啄食次序啦。
You have a farm, 10 chickens at the trough. Very soon they find out the pecking order.
如果你喺一個嘅農場嗰度有10隻雞，咁咧喺餵嘢食嗰個位前邊咧，你好快會睇到咧，原來佢哋有個次序嘅。
The biggest chicken, number 1, pecks the second number 2 chicken, second largest chicken, who takes it, but he or she gets to peck number 3 chicken.
原來最大嗰隻雞咧係可以啄下第2大嗰隻雞，第2隻大隻雞又會啄第3大隻雞，如此類推。咁佢哋唔會啄翻轉頭嘅。
And that's how they learn. That's how they arrange for food.
咁佢哋咧亦都係用呢啲方法次序咧去到食嘢。
When I was an engineer, I learned very quickly about the pecking order.
當牧師做工程師嘅時候咧，佢好快咧就學識咗呢種啄食嘅次序。
You go to these industry meetings with all these different other engineers and business people, and they slowly talk about, or quickly really talk about, how big is your company? What do you make? How many employees do you have?
咁譬如咧，你去一個好多公司都一齊去嘅會議啦，咁一班嘅工程師坐埋一齊咧，佢哋好快咧就會輪流咧講下咧，大家喺咩公司做嘢啊，公司有幾大啊，公司有幾多員工啊，公司嘅財政預算係點啊，講好多呢啲嘅資料。
And the biggest engineer gets to talk the most.
咁咧，其中最勁嗰個嘅工程師咧就講最多嘢。
Everyone listens to him or her.
其他人咧就只能夠聽嘅啫。
No one listens to the junior engineer.
冇人會聽咧最低級嗰個工程師講嘢。
And all of a sudden, you know how low you are on the totem pole.
咁於是乎，你突然間咧就知道自己嘅位置喺邊度啦。
Even among pastors.
其實就算一班牧者可能都有呢個情況。
You go to a pastoral big gathering and they slowly ask, how many people in your church? How many people in your staff?
可能你去一個咧
How big is your budget?
一啲傳道人嘅會議嘅時候咧，佢哋又會問下你個教會幾大啊？有幾多人返緊啊？你哋嘅教會嘅財政預算係點樣㗎？
And the number 1 pastor gets to speak at all the large events, to write the books, gets to go on the radio and TV.
咁咧最勁嘅牧師咧就可以去上電視啊，有電台去訪問啊，或者去啲大型嘅聚會做講
It
員。
happens everywhere. Sporting events, parties, class reunions, family picnics.
似乎呢件事咧喺好多地方都會發生，無論你去睇波又好，去開 party 又好。
How old are you? Are you married? How long? How many children? What do you do?
人會問下，你幾多歲啊？或者你係做緊乜嘢㗎？你屋企有冇結咗婚？有冇細路仔啊？等等。
Built right into our culture.
其實呢個已經成為我哋文化嘅一部分。
I couldn't believe this. When I first got married, my wife's Chinese as well, and of course I'm pretty much white. And she said, she asked me when I was asked a relative, she says, who's so-and-so? Oh, that's my brother, that's my uncle, that's my niece. No. Who is she? Who is he? What do you mean? Uncle number 1, brother number 3, niece number 4? You have to know exactly in the Chinese culture where they stand, where you can't even talk to them.
咁牧師話咧，佢太太係中國人嚟嘅，佢唔能夠相信原來咧介紹自己咧唔可以話另外嗰人咧係自己嘅兄弟，要講清楚啲係大哥啊、二哥啊、三叔啊、四嬸啊，邊樣嘢咧就搞清楚個次序，唔可以撈亂嘅。
It seems innocent.
其實好似好簡單，好簡單一件事。
But there's something deeper inside.
但係裡面其實有啲深奧嘅道理嘅，
It's not just a mind game.
唔係話頭腦諗出嚟咁簡
It
單。
radically affects the way we relate to each other.
其實呢個想法咧會影響我哋嘅生活嘅。
A natural tendency to treat those above you with respect, with honor, admiration, kindness.
我哋變咗自然咧就會對一啲高級啲嘅人、叻啲嘅人、有地位嘅人咧，對佢哋有更多嘅尊重。
You fall over yourselves to please them. These are the people that zip through the customs lines in the airport. These are the people that get the best tables at the restaurants.
你見到呢啲人嘅時候咧，會特別對佢哋好啲嘅，甚至佢係喺機場咧，可能唔使排隊嘅。佢哋去到一啲嘅酒樓嘅時候咧，係唔使訂台都有張最靚嘅台嘅。
People below you get treated with insensitivity, callousness, and contempt.
但係比你更加低級，所謂低級嘅人咧，可能咧佢哋就冇人去到尊重，唔去理會佢哋。
Why do we do this?
點解我哋會咁樣嘅？
It gives us a sense of stability, of order. Everyone knows their place. You know who you can peck. You know who you allow to peck you.
咁樣就好似有一個嘅啄食嘅次序咁樣，令到我哋咧有一種穩妥嘅感覺。我哋知道我哋可以啄邊個，我哋又知道邊個啄我哋嘅時候要唔出聲。
And I know I'm not immune to this.
我自己咧都知道自己唔係去到免疫嘅。
I like to name drop.
Sorry?
I like to name drop.
Name drop 啊？咩
I don't know what that is in Chinese.
哦，OK。
Okay, I like to throw things like, oh, do you know my wife's cousin is so and so?
哦，佢中意去到即係將啲人去命名或者排一啲嘅先後。我諗
I'm the lead English pastor.
我係英文堂嘅帶領英文堂嘅牧師。
I've got so and so degree.
我有邊啲嘅學歷。
My son makes so and so much money.
我個仔咧就揾到幾多錢。
Jesus was different. He was completely different.
耶穌完全唔係咁樣嘅。
He didn't like terms like white and blue collar, management, labor, upper, middle, lower class, university, college, etc.
佢唔會理會呢啲嘅名稱或者稱號，譬如你係白領定藍領、管理層定勞工，你係上層、中層、下層嘅階級，定係你係大學畢業、中學畢業、專上畢業。
Jesus completely destroyed the pecking order. He was a servant.
耶穌佢選擇係做一個嘅僕人，將呢個嘅啄食次序咧完全去粉碎。
How about you? Do you treat others with respect no matter their position?
我哋自己又點樣呢？我哋對人係咪無論乜嘢人，我哋有同等嘅尊重俾佢哋呢？
What if the janitor of your company wants 5 minutes of your time?
如果有一個喺你公司嗰個嘅掃地伯伯想要你5分鐘傾偈，你會點呢？
The single parent next door wants a favor.
可能你隔離屋有一個單親嘅家庭，佢成日都揾你幫手，你幫唔幫呢？
The teenager who mows your lawn asks for your advice.
你俾錢佢幫你剪草，嗰個後生仔突然間想問你意見。
The Uber driver messes up on your delivery.
幫你送食物嗰個嘅司機搞錯咗你個 order。
You know, Leo Tolstoy, famous Russian author, once met a beggar on the street who was asking him for money.
有個蘇聯嘅出名嘅作家，佢叫 Tolstoy， 佢曾經咧係有一個嘅乞衣問佢攞錢。
Tolstoy reached in his pocket, it was empty.
Tolstoy 揞下自己嘅褲袋冇錢。
He said to the beggar, I'm sorry, brother, but I've got nothing to give you.
兄弟真係唔好意思啦，佢同嗰個嘅乞衣講：兄弟真係唔好意思啦，我今日冇錢。
And the beggar simply said, You've given me more than I've asked because you call me brother.
嗰個乞衣就話：你俾我嘅比起錢更重要，因為你叫我做兄弟。
Have you chosen to serve?
你有冇選擇去咁樣嘅服侍呢？
Many have done that in this church. I know many of you have.
知道呢度當中有好多弟兄姊妹都有咁樣嘅選擇。
Cell groups, counselors, Sunday school, children's ministry, IT, worship teams, finance, food bank, social concern, prayer meeting, you do so much.
知道大家咧喺食物銀行啦、兒童事工啦、青年事工啦、喺 IT 啦、喺好多嘅範疇敬拜啦等等都有幫手。
Some have given up comfortable lives in Canada to serve overseas.
亦都有啲人咧，佢哋放棄喺加拿大安舒嘅生活咧，去第二啲地方嚟到宣教。
We thank God and praise God for you.
我為到你哋每一位咧去感謝神。
But what about the rest of you?
但係會唔會另外仲有啲其他嘅弟兄姊妹咧？
Jesus was humble in his power, his position, and finally, quickly, his priorities.
耶穌除咗喺佢能力上面咧，同埋佢嘅地位上面咧，願意紆尊降貴之外咧，佢仲有喺呢個優先次序上面都願意放低。
Being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming, and here's the word, obedient to death, even death on a cross.
既有人的樣子，就自己卑微，全心信服，以至於死，且死在十字架上。
When he was obedient, he gave up his priorities to others.
當佢咁順服嘅時候咧，佢就將個優先次序咧俾咗人哋。
Obedience, almost a swear word these days.
順服呢個字咧，差唔多好似粗口咁難聽。
Independence, give me my rights. I get to choose. I am, look out for number one, myself.
因為而家嘅人咧好中意有佢哋自己嘅自由，有自己嘅選擇，佢唔中意人哋幫佢揀，佢要自己揀自己喜歡嘅。
But Jesus was completely different.
耶穌剛剛相反。
Why don't you save time? Why don't you just read the Chinese version?
咁呢度有啲經文咧讀俾大家聽，喺約翰福音4章34節話：耶穌說：我的食物就是遵行差我來者的旨意，做成他的功。亦都喺約翰福音5章30節講：我不求自己的意思，只求那差我來者的意思。因為我從天上降下來，不是要按自己的意思行，乃是要按那差我來者的意思行。呢個係約翰福音6章38節，約翰福音8章29節話：我常做他所喜悅的事。 路加福音22章42節，父啊，你若願意就把這杯撇去，然而不要成就我的意思，只要成就你的意思。馬可福音10章45節，因為人子來並不是要受人的服侍，乃是要服侍人，並且要捨命作多人的贖價。
Obedience to the greatest extent, the death on the cross.
順服咧，去到最終極咧，係喺十字架上面死，
To pay the penalty for our sins.
以致佢可以為到我哋嘅罪去贖罪。
When we don't die for other people's sins, we cannot pay for their sins.
我哋唔能夠為別人嘅罪死，
But we can die to our own priorities.
但係我哋可以向我哋自己嘅優先次序死。
Then, okay, why don't you just read the chapter?
都講埋呢一節咧，喺路加福音9章嗰度話，耶穌又對眾人說：若有人要跟從我，就當捨己，天天背起他的十字架來跟從我。因為凡要救自己生命的，必喪掉生命；凡為我喪掉生命的，必救了生命。
I encourage you to do two things: prioritize God and prioritize others.
我鼓勵你做一件事，就係將神擺喺更優先嘅位置，亦都將其他嘅人嘅需要咧擺喺優先啲嘅次序。
This is called the classic prayer of indifference. Not my will, but thine be done.
呢個就係我哋最重要點樣以神為先嘅禱告咧，就係同神講唔要成就我嘅意思，係成就你嘅意思。
Prioritize God and prioritize others.
將神同埋其他人咧擺喺我哋優先次序上啲嘅位置。
Can you read that?
咁呢度咧就係腓立比書2章嘅，只要全心謙卑，各人看別人比自己強，個人不要單顧自己的事，也要顧別人的事。
You know, this is. I want to end with this. To me, this is a lesson I just recently learned in life.
咁咧最後咧想同大家分享咧我近來咧學到嘅一個功課。
This is one of the secrets that I really think is. I wish I knew it when I was younger.
呢個係一個咧佢希望佢自己細個啲嘅時候已經學識嘅一個秘訣。
When I was younger, life was so complicated.
我細個嘅年輕啲嘅時候咧，我嘅生活咧係好複雜嘅，
Confusing, chaotic.
好混亂嚇，好煩亂。
Because my priorities are always clashing against God's priorities and those of others.
其實佢當時咁亂咧，係因為咧佢有好多優先次序咧就撞埋一齊。
I talk too much, I listen too little.
成日都掛住講嘢，其實冇乜聆聽。
But when I learned to prioritize God, to love God, and love others, prioritize others, life becomes a lot more simpler.
但係當我真係學習咧，去到愛神同埋愛人，用呢兩樣嘢咧嚟到成為我嘅優先次序嘅時候咧，我嘅生命咧突然間變得好簡單。
All the commands of the Bible can be summed up in two statements: love God, love others. That's the priorities.
因為聖經裏面所教嘅所有嘅優先次序咧，其實到總結嘅時候咧，都係關於愛神同愛人呢兩件事。
As it says in Matthew 22, could you read it for us?
喺馬太福音22章嗰度講，耶穌對他說：你要盡心、盡性、盡意、盡意愛主你的神，這是誡命中的第一，且是最大的。其次也相仿，就是要愛人如己。這兩條誡命是律法和先知一切道理的總綱。
Have you got a tough decision to make?
如果你覺得你有個好難作嘅決定，
What's the most loving thing for God and others?
咁你可以諗下，究竟點樣先係最愛神、最愛人呢？
When you have to come up to preach in a pulpit, am I nervous? Love God, love others.
當我上到嚟講台要講一篇道嘅時候，我緊張嘅話，我就要記住我係愛神同愛人嘅。
Lord, why am I afraid? Why am I nervous? Help me to love you, help me to love others.
當我面對困難嘅時候，我會同神講：點解我要咁緊張呢？我需要學習幫助我愛神，幫助我愛人。
Because there's no fear in love.
因為喺愛裏面咧，沒有懼怕。
As it says in 1 John 4.
喺就好似約翰一書4章嗰度講，愛裏沒有懼怕，愛既是完全，就把懼怕除去，因為懼怕裏含着刑罰，懼怕的人在愛裏未得完全。
That's how I make it as a pastor. That's how I make it as a husband, as a father, as a son.
呢個就係幫助我點樣去做傳道人，我去做爸爸，去做先生，去做兒子。
Jesus was humble in his use of power, position, and priorities.
耶穌基督係謙卑咁樣佢嘅謙卑展現咗喺能力上，佢
And what
嘅
was
地
the
位，
result?
佢優先次序。最後點樣呢？
The result is,
所以神將他升為至高，又賜給他超乎萬名之上的名。
one day everyone will bow the knee to Jesus.
有一日全世界所有人咧都會向耶穌基督去屈膝。
Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, kings, cleaners, billionaires, beggars, men, women, grandparents, grandchildren, white, black, brown, yellow.
即係你諗到所有人都會啦。
Everyone.
冇錯，所有人。
Finally, Another quote from Anonymous.
最後又係無名氏講過嘅説話。
Oh, sorry, I forgot to.
哦，
Okay, I'll
唔
let
緊
you
要
read that last.
哦，啱啱講嗰個經文仲有少少未講完嘅嚇，叫一切天上的、地下的和地底下的，因耶穌基督的名，無不屈膝，無不口稱耶穌基督為主，使榮耀歸於父神。
I asked for strength that I might achieve. God made me weak that I might obey.
咁以下呢段就係無名氏講㗎啦。我祈求力量，以致能夠有成就，但係神呢使到我軟弱，以致我學習順服。
I asked for health that I might do greater things. I was given grace that I might do better things.
我祈求健康，等我可以做更大嘅事，但係神俾我嘅係恩典，使我做得更好。
I asked for riches that I might be happy. I was given poverty that I might be wise.
當我祈求財富嘅時候呢，等我可以開心嘅時候呢，神俾我嘅係貧窮，以致我學識有智慧。
I asked for power that I might have the praise of men. I was given weakness that I might feel the need for God.
當我祈求能力，以致到人哋會讚賞我嘅時候呢，神俾我嘅係軟弱，能夠讓我可以感到需要神。
I asked for all things that I might enjoy life. I was given life that I might enjoy all things.
我祈求神俾我一切，以致我可以享受生命，但係神俾我係生命，等我能夠享受一切。
I received nothing that I asked for, but all I hoped for. My prayer was answered.
我祈求嘅好似乜嘢都得唔到，但係我得到嘅係我真正盼望嘅，所以我嘅禱告呢，全部都有應允。
Let's pray.
讓我哋祈禱。
Our eternal God and Father,
我哋永恆嘅父神，
we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ.
我哋為你賜嘅耶穌基督感謝你。
First and foremost, for his death on the cross to pay the penalty for our sins,
首先，我哋感謝嘅係佢係願意喺十架上死，為我哋贖罪。
but also for his example.
但係亦都多謝你俾我哋睇到佢嘅榜樣。
Even though he is by very nature God,
雖然佢本身就係神，
yet he took on the nature of man, a servant,
但係佢願意成為人，去到成為僕人，
and became obedient unto death, even death on the cross.
而且佢願意順服，以至於死且死在十字架上。
Lord, give us the faith, the courage, and strength to give up in our lives power, position, priorities.
神啊，求你俾我哋勇氣，俾我哋能力，可以放低人生裏面嗰啲嘅權力、嗰啲嘅地位優先次序，
That we might be truly great
讓我哋真正嘅成為你睇為偉大嘅，
in our lives, in our families,
喺我哋嘅生活，喺我哋嘅家庭，
in the cell group,
喺我哋嘅小組，
in church,
喺我哋嘅教會，
and in society.
甚至喺我哋嘅社會。
For your name's sake we pray.
奉你嘅名祈求，
Amen.
阿門。
Amen.